What's going on, guys, and welcome to another Doctor Who review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 10th Doctor David Tennant story, Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead. It is another two-parter from Series 4, and this is a pretty big story because it introduces the character of River Song, a character that would become a very major character, mainly in the 11th Doctor's era. But yeah, this is where she was first introduced. It's a story that I've always quite liked, and it's always been very highly regarded. I had some points where I didn't think it was the absolute, 10 out of 10 best story ever, but I kind of keep changing my mind on it, so let's see what my thoughts are after this review. But anyway, let's get started with the cast. David Tennant as the 10th Doctor. David Tennant, of course, is really good in this one. Now, we only see the 10th Doctor with River Song on screen once in this one story, but the chemistry between David and between Alex Kingston, who plays River Song, is really good here. They just bounce off each other so well. I would have loved to have seen more on screen with them, but, River Song is very much she's very much an 11th Doctor character, really. She was just introduced in the 10th Doctor's era, then also had a couple of appearances in the 12th Doctor's era, but very much an 11th Doctor character is River. But yeah, David Tennant does a great job here, of course, like he always does. Not as many silly moments in this one. This is actually a bit more of a serious story, especially once, once Donna goes missing, once they think she's maybe dead, especially after that point, the Doctor's very serious. And yeah, throughout this entire story, really, he is quite serious, and I like that. Catherine Tate as Donna Noble, also, of course, really good. She has great chemistry, of course, with David Tennant, but also with Alex Kingston as well in the few scenes that they do have together. A little bit of bickering between those two and her trying to figure out, who River is and, all that sort of stuff. When she talks to her about like the diary that she's got, and then she's like, why don't you know me? Why haven't you seen me, before? Or she's like starting to kind of, the seeds are starting to be sown of what Donna's fate is potentially going to be. So yeah, all in all, I really like Donna in this one as well. I will also mention Alex Kingston as River Song because, she becomes a very major character, of course, later on. She's awesome in this one as well. It's great to see her with the 10th Doctor, with my favorite Doctor, and I think her introduction is great. Straight away, there's something weird going on with her. She's got this diary, she's got a sonic screwdriver, she's seemingly from the Doctor's future, but it's her past, and, the story's intriguing from the get-go, so all in all, she's a great character. Right, so let's get on to some points about this story, starting off with Silence in the Library, a completely empty library. So the Doctor and Donna land the TARDIS in this library. It's the biggest library in the universe. It's basically a planet that is a library, but there's nobody there. There is absolutely no one there. They look on this kind of computer system and it just says, yeah, there's two humanoid kind of living life forms, but then he kind of does something and changes the search to any possible living thing, and it goes up to a massive amount. So only two physical humanoid sort of living creatures, but millions of other life forms. So straight away we're thinking, what's going on here? The Doctor's first time meeting River Song. Yes, I love it in this story because, of course, he has no idea who River Song is because he's just met her. But for her, it's actually one of, if not the last time that they meet. I think it is actually the last time they meet, going off what happens at the end. It's just so cool that the first time they meet, the Doctor meets her, is the last time that she sees him. I just think that's really special and just really smart, and, it obviously plays out throughout mainly the 11th Doctor's era and a bit into the 12th. But yeah, just seeing them here for the first time, the Doctor just absolutely not knowing who she is, but then the conversations that they have with each other and just the chemistry there is, I don't know. I mean, there's even little hints as to what's to come, like, with the guy going, stop, talking to each other like a married couple. And of course, it would take a few years for us to figure out that they do end up being a married couple. And, it's just all these little seeds being sown. It's very clever. The Doctor trying to communicate with the little girl. Now, I think this is when he's messing around with that little orb thing and he's trying to talk to her. I can't remember if they've actually seen the little girl on a screen by this point, or if he's just, I think maybe by this point he has, and he's trying to get in contact with her and he doesn't know what's going on. And yeah, there's all these weird things like in her world, there's kind of toys flashing and making noise and everything's going crazy, and he's just trying to talk to her and it like overloads the system and he has no idea what's going on. Miss Evangelista is the first to die to the Vashta Nerada. So we eventually figure out the Vashta Nerada are these life forms that are, supposedly all here in this library that you can't see. And it turns out they are basically in the shadows. And if you go into the shadows, they will take over you and basically kill you. That is the monster, the villain for this story. And Miss Evangelista, the, so-called dumb one of the group, she's made out to, she's not very smart. She's just kind of here for her looks or whatever. And yeah, she's the first one to die. And that is a very tragic and sad death, to be honest. The Vashta Nerada take over Dave's body. So yeah, Miss Evangelista just dies. She gets literally stripped down to bone. But then Dave, or one of the Daves, because there's two Daves, one of the Daves, he's in his suit and he kind of starts getting taken over by the Vashta Nerada, and they end up killing him, but then they're using him, his body and the suit to basically communicate and to move and to potentially, kill off other people. So that's a really scary thing, seeing a person talk, like seeing this monster talk with somebody's voice who is now dead, and yeah, walking around in this suit. It's a really nifty idea. Donna wasn't teleported to the TARDIS, she was saved. So yeah, the Doctor tries to get Donna out of danger's way once things start going wrong. So he puts her on this teleporter thing and does this really funny thing where he's like, I'll explain everything, and then boop, he just teleports her to like shut her up. And he thinks he's teleporting her to the TARDIS to be safe, but something happens. She screams, and I mean, the Doctor doesn't know this has happened at the time, but she screams, and the cliffhanger to the first part is that she is, sorry, that's my dog shaking in the background if you can hear that. She has died somewhat, but then she ends up being one of those faces on kind of the mannequin things. And she's saying Donna Noble has been saved. Donna Noble has left the library. But yeah, specifically saved, and we'll get to what that all means at the end of this story. On to Forest of the Dead now. Donna is living a normal life, but there's weird things going on. So yeah, we cut back to Donna, and she now seems to be back on Earth somewhat, and she's got a partner who ends up quickly being her husband, and then she gets two kids. But it's very strange because every time she's like talking to this Dr. Moon character, who we've seen this Dr. Moon character with the little girl. I can't Cal's her name, isn't it? We've seen Dr. Moon with this Cal character, and now he's here with Donna. And yeah, every time she's kind of having a conversation with Dr. Moon, and she says like, oh, we should go down to the pond, or he says, oh, we should go down to the pond, and then all of a sudden they're at the pond, and it's like no time has passed, they just get teleported there. And she does mention this. She's like, we were talking, I said we were going to go to the pond, and now we're feeding ducks. Like, it's very strange what's going on. I'll be honest, this episode is the one that I used to not really like. I don't know, I just felt it was a bit too weird and a bit, I don't know, I didn't really love what was going on in it. But now rewatching it, I actually really like this episode as well as the first episode, and I totally get what it's going for. River whispered something in the Doctor's ear to make him trust her. So yeah, at this point, the Doctor really doesn't trust River. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know who she is, who all the people with her are. She's also an archaeologist, so he hates that because he hates archaeologists. I love that line. But then River has to get the Doctor to trust her. So she whispers something in his ear, and he basically looks terrified. And he's like, yep, I trust you. We are good. And we don't figure out what that is until the end of the episode. The Vashta Nerada came from trees that were made into books. So this is, I'm pretty sure how this works. All those life forms, they were the Vashta Neradas. They are basically like spores from trees. And yeah, their forests have been destroyed and made into books that are in this library. So they're basically just trying to get back home, just trying to get back home, really. But all their trees have been destroyed, and that's what they lived in. So now they're basically living in the books and living in the shadows and, I don't know, killing people off or whatever, just to stay alive, I think, is the gist of what's going on there. But I thought that was a really cool concept, that it is basically books, trees, that are killing people here in a way, or the life forms within the trees and within the books. And I don't know. I just think that's a cool thing for a monster. The people have been saved to the planet's hard drive. So we figure out this whole saved and safe thing. You know, I think the I can't remember his name, but the main kind of guy other than River Song in the expedition, the archaeologist group, he says, and he turns out that he's actually the great grandson or great grandson of Cal or something like that. Um, he says something about, it's weird to say somebody's been saved. You would say they're safe, but they keep saying saved. It turns out that this planet has basically one massive hard drive, and it is saving the people to the hard drive. They're not dying, and they're getting saved to this hard drive, so they are still technically alive, but they're inside this giant computer. And I think once again, it's just such a cool, different sort of idea. I really like it. River sacrifices herself to save the Doctor. So yeah, it basically turns out that to get everybody back from this hard drive and to to save everybody from this whole thing, the Doctor needs to, I can't exactly remember what he has to do, but he basically has to kill himself, sacrifice himself to save everyone. But River doesn't want that to happen. She can't have that happen because all the things that she has done with the Doctor in the future, in the Doctor's future, but her past, they won't happen if the Doctor dies. So she ends up being the one to make the sacrifice. This is also when the Doctor says to her, he kind of reveals what she whispered into his ear. She whispered his name, his real name, into his ear. And he's like, there's only one reason why I'd ever give you, my real name. He doesn't actually say what it is because she says spoilers and sacrifices herself. But that is such a cool and just great moment in the show. And it just shows us we've got so much more to go with this character. She may be dying right here, but this is only the beginning of us seeing her. The Doctor saved River to the hard drive, so everybody is saved, unsaved from the hard drive, but back into real life again. However, River is dead. However, she was wearing the suit with the little relay thing on it, and he just about manages to grab that in time. But also, she had something about this the sonic screwdriver that she had. He gave her the sonic screwdriver to save her. He put the little relay thing in the sonic screwdriver, which would save her, and then he can then plug her in, save her to the hard drive. So she's technically dead. She can't be then re-uploaded from the hard drive. She is just now there in the hard drive, but because she is actually dead. But she's now on this hard drive. She can somewhat live there, and she's with all her other archaeologist team that have also died, like Miss Evangelista and the Daves and all that. And yeah, she basically gets to live out her life, the rest of her life, technically not alive, but within this hard drive. So I just love that ending when he's running around, he's trying to save her, and it's just such a feel-good moment. So there we go. That is my review for Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead. A rating out of 10. I had changing opinions on this. It used to be kind of like a 9 out of 10, maybe a 9.5. I am going to give it a 10 out of 10 now, though. I really actually enjoyed this one when I rewatched it. I used to think that part 1 was really, really good. And then part 2, for me, I didn't like as much, but now I can 100% appreciate part 2, and I like it just as much as part 1. I think it's a really good story, a great introduction to a character that, although I don't love River later on in the show that much, she's definitely not my favorite character. I think this is a great start for her character, and just in general, it's an interesting story. My partner also liked this story a lot because it was set in a library, and she is an absolute bookworm, so she loved the setting of it being in a library. And yeah, it's going to be a 10 out of 10 for this two-parter. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.